Most people importing from China lose thousands of dollars before they ever sell their first product. After 13 years working with factories in China, I've seen the same 5 mistakes again and again. If you avoid these mistakes, you are ahead of 90% of new importers. My name is Dwayne Scott, and I design supply chain systems that turn factories in China into operational assets for brands. In this video, we're breaking down the 5 biggest sourcing mistakes, and make sure you stay until the end, because the last mistake can actually save you from receiving a container full of defective products. The first mistake is not negotiating the right way with factories. Chinese factories quote every component of a product, sometimes down to the centimeter. To get an accurate price, you need a tool or a bill of materials, or what I call a BOM. This is my #1 negotiation tool. Why? It's because a BOM lists every material, every component, and every specification. When a factory quotes your product, you're comparing apples to apples. It includes images, and visuals are really important. Why? An image will prevent a misunderstanding, especially when English isn't their first language. Now let's take a look at an example of a BOM. So here we've got a BOM with a backpack. So let's say you're in the niche of travel, business, luxury, and you want to do something like a Tumi backpack, right? Something that is quite luxurious and expensive and higher end. So what you've got here in your BOM are the different views. The main view is sort of like a perspective view that shows a 3D image, right? Then you've got the internal view. What does it look like on the inside? A top view, what does it look like from the top? A back view, what does it look like from behind? And then the side view, right? What does it look from the side? So when the factory looks at all of these images, right? When the factory looks at all of these images, what they will see is the exact number of pockets that you need, the number of zippers that's required, what type of materials are involved. But the most important thing is that the critical features for you, make sure you number them with a circle that points to that feature, okay? Then in the table below, you can see that each number has its own description or part name, and it specifies the material of choice. And it also specifies the color code and how many are required, okay? Why is this important? Is because remember, you can make a bag out of any material, but when you start changing materials, it will come with different costs. So let's say the factory gave you a quotation back, but you thought that the price quoted was a bit too high. You could then say, do you have an alternative material that will make it more affordable? And of course, the factory will have many different types of materials. That new material you put back into the material specification column here. It keeps track of it, right? And the same with the color code. If you wanted a standard color, like blacks, reds, yellows, browns, then the factory knows exactly what color you want. If you wanted a non-standard color, something like, let's say, a hot pink, right? Hot pink is not a standard color. You would then have to tell the factory, I want a specific Pantone color. That's what we refer to when we want a customized color. Then the factory will quote you on how much it will cost for their material supplier to then custom dye fabric for your Pantone color code. Okay, makes sense? That's why anything that's customized, the price starts to go up. Here's another quick example. We've got a running shoe, same concept, right? You got your different views here, and each feature that's important to you, just make sure you number it with a balloon, and then you describe it in the table below, right? The description, the materials, and the color codes, and how many are involved. Now, why is this really, really important? Because the factory, as I said, can see the complete picture and they will quote you accordingly. However, in this case with running shoes, they have seen that you want your logo on the bottom here, on the outsole grips. And I can tell you from doing running shoes that if you want a logo on the outsole grips, you're gonna pay a fee to develop molds, right? Because this outsole grip is made in steel molds. And let's say you got 6 different sizes, you may need 6 different molds. That's gonna add up. So right away, just based on the image, they will quote you accordingly. Make sense? Comparing apples to apples, right? And especially when you give this to all your different factories, you know that the price coming back is apples to apples. Our second strategy is negotiating MOQs with the small order fee. When I first started in China back in 2013, the standard MOQ was about 3,000 pieces, but things have changed. Because of Amazon, Shopify, and e-commerce, factories are now more open to smaller orders, sometimes down to like 200 pieces. You see, in China, workers are paid by the piece, not by the hour. So if the MOQ is too low, the worker can actually refuse the order. And in most cases, it's the workers that dictate the MOQ. But because many new sellers cannot start with 3,000 units, low MOQs now dominate the market. Makes sense, right? So what's the solution? Ask. Just ask the factory. If you do a small order, can we pay a small order fee? This fee simply incentivizes the workers to take the smaller job. It's just a surcharge that is factored into the unit price. Let's say you ask the factory, what is your MOQ and price? The factory says it's 3,000 pieces and the unit price is $3.20. Okay? Now, you may say, that's a bit too much. Would you be able to do a smaller quantity for a small order fee? So I will pay the small order fee for the small quantity. The factory says, okay, we'll quote you on 300 pieces, right? So 300 pieces and they quote you at $3.95. Hey, this sounds like a win-win situation. Why? Because you don't have to pay $9,000, right? 3,000 by 3.2 is over $9,000. You just have to pay the difference, which is 75 cents per unit based on 300. I like this strategy. Just ask them, will they accept a small order fee? Some will, some won't, but I guarantee you, if you ask enough, you're gonna be a good factory that will do it for you and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Our third strategy is the trial order. Frame the request as a trial order. Tell the factory you want to test the market, but before placing larger orders, you want a small order to try. Also remember, customized packaging increases MOQs. Every factory has a stock of generic packaging, which means in-house packaging with no custom logos. If you can accept this, your MOQ will drastically drop. Let's take an example. Hey guys, program interruption. I hope you enjoyed the video so far. I just want to let you know that I'm going to be in China this May 1st to May 5th, 2026 for the Spring Canton Fair. So if you plan to be in Guangzhou, then hit me up. We can work together. It's free of charge. I just want to help a few folks and maybe I can help you to answer some of your questions or funnel some of your factories to help you with your suppliers. All right. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Here I got a desktop mobile phone holder, right? This is a really cool gadget because it just sits on my desk and my phone just clamps onto it, okay? Now, I ordered an extra magnet, okay, to put on the tripod. And here you can see that it has the logo from the seller, right? It's called G-Bell. So this, I can tell you that it was a lasered logo. They just lasered it on, no big deal. You can do a lot of small order quantities with lasered logos, okay? Now, if we take a look at the packaging, this is the box that it came in. So right away, you can see that on this packaging, there are no customized logos from the seller, right? The logo that was on the magnetic holder is not on the box. You can see that this is just the standard packaging from the factory. So they offer this packaging and they store it in-house. They probably got thousands of these. So if you accept the generic box packaging, your MOQ is gonna go drastically down. But if you did want your logo on it, that means the product factory that's making the magnetic holders has to then ask the printing factory, could you do another run of boxes with a custom logo? That requires a new setup, and the box factory that's printing it is going to say the MOQ is 2,000. So you can see that sometimes the high MOQ is not because of the product, it's because of the printing on the packaging. If you want lower MOQs, avoid customized packaging, customized colors, customized features. Instead, keep it simple, especially in the beginning. Use a one-color logo and avoid complex setups. Test the market, see how it goes, and if you start to ramp up volumes, you can introduce more features. Our fourth strategy is not getting enough quotations. Another mistake is not getting enough quotations. Use your BOM and request quotes from 7 to 11 factories. 7-11. The more quotes you collect, the clearer the real market price becomes. Then you can confidently say, I compared several quotes and let's say factory number 8, your price is on the high side. Is there something we can do about that? But the reverse is true. The lowest price will always come with a trade-off somewhere. Maybe quality, delivery time, production capability, and sometimes just really poor customer service. But negotiating properly is only half the battle. The next mistake happens before production even starts, and most beginners or experts don't even realize they're making it. Mistake number 2 is not working with a specialized factory. I always recommend visiting China, and we even offer workshops in China on how to audit factories. But sometimes your only choice is to work with companies like Alibaba. Now, wherever you source, make sure the factory specializes in your product category. So, what do I mean? Well, strategy number 5. Verify the product is the main product. Let's say, for example, you are sourcing yoga mats, but the supplier also sells Christmas boxes, gift paper, pickup ball products. That's usually a trading company. Now, trading companies are fine too, if they specialize in a niche. But a jack of all trades supplier is often a middleman. And the problem here is that if something goes wrong with the production, they just may not be able to fix it. Strategy number 6, audit the factory. Right? Before choosing a supplier, verify 3 things. You just need to have a video call. That's right, video call with the sales agent. The first thing, certificates. Check that the business license actually has a factory name in Chinese and English. Second, ask them to walk to the production line with the camera, a live video, so you can actively see the workers producing. Third, make sure that they walk to the front reception area of the factory and confirm the factory name is in the front lobby area. Then you know you have the real factory. And as a bonus, here is strategy number 7. Ask them to show you who is Dalaoban, the big boss. Why? Because if your order grows, you may want to grow with that factory. And by asking who is Dalaoban, you are taking interest in the factory. This is what I do all the time. And it will pay dividends later on because you are now sowing the seeds into a relationship that can grow from order to order to order to order. All right. Mistake number 3 is buying on the low price instead of relationships. Many people think a factory is just machines and workers, but a factory is not just a building. It's the attitude and values of the people behind the walls. And for you, the factory is really the sales agent managing your order. Your sales agent is a factory to you. So make sure to evaluate things like response time. Did they respond within 24 hours? Their technical knowledge. Can they explain how the product is made? How good is their English? If communication is difficult, don't be afraid to walk away. There are tons of good factories that speak English, and you will avoid headaches with communication or miscommunication. And check if their sales office is actually inside the factory. Why? Because if something goes wrong, you want to make sure that the sales agent can talk to the engineers and quickly fix the problem. Strategy number 8. What is your intuition? Remember, people only do business with people that they like and trust. Your factory does not have to have the newest machines, but it's the attitude of the sales agent that will make the biggest difference. Now, even if you choose the right factory, there's another mistake that can completely destroy your order. Mistake number 4 is sending 100% payment upfront. Standard factory payment terms are 30% deposit and 70% final balance. In 13 years of sourcing, I have never paid 100% upfront, not even to our long-term factories. Why? Because business in China runs on leverage. Strategy number 9, cash is your leverage. Never pay the final balance until quality and quantity checks are fully completed. Once you pay, you will lose the leverage and you are at the mercy of the factory. You see, many people think Alibaba Trade Assurance guarantees an instant refund, but it does not. It's a mediation process that can take months. Both parties have to agree who's at fault. So don't lose your leverage by paying 100% upfront. And the last mistake is actually the easiest one to fix, but skipping it is how people end up with containers full of defective products. Mistake number 5, skipping a pre-shipment inspection. Even if your samples were perfect, mass production might not be. I once saw a buyer receive 2,000 units of watering cans where the paint was missing. Luckily, they had the inspection done before the goods left the factory. Who was that buyer? It was me. I am so glad I spent the money to do that inspection. Strategy number 10, third-party inspections. Order a third-party AQL inspection. AQL stands for Acceptable Quality Level. An independent inspector visits the factory before shipment. They check for cartons, packaging, barcodes, labels, and the product's functionality. Then they will offer you a detailed inspection report with photos, videos, and the exact percentage of defects, minor defects, major defects, and critical defects. This gives you leverage to fix the problems before you pay the final balance. You see, the point of no return is once the goods leave the factory and head to the port, you're not getting them back. This is extremely difficult. Remember, this isn't Costco where you can buy something and return it 6 to 12 months later. And factories, they don't offer a cash refund. The most they like to do is a credit on the next order. A professional inspection usually costs about $150 to $300 US. That's a small investment that can save you from receiving an entire container full of defective products. And that is a mistake that you never, ever want to make. So if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more strategies of how to architect factory systems in China, check out our videos here where you can learn the difference between a trading company versus a factory and which one to choose.